Trouble keeps mounting for the suspended Vice Chancellor of Fort Hare University. With me is Grant Abbott of the National Tertiary Education Union. Welcome, Grant.
Thanks, Chris, and thanks for having me.
You've laid a criminal complaint against the VC with the Hawks, the SIU, and the Public Protector. What are the allegations?
Thank you. Thank you so much. Firstly, just to start off with, as we know, the matter with regards to Fort Hare has been a long-standing one. We've spoken to you and been on your show a few times, just expressing the concerns. But to give you an idea, essentially what we've done is filed a criminal complaint against the Vice Chancellor for irregular appointments, for making appointments contrary to what the policy of the institution is, and these go, and then giving people golden handshakes that go into the millions and millions of rands. We're not talking just small change here, and the reality is that that is taxpayers' money. It's not his own money. It's not his own company, and that is what is quite key in terms of this. So the criminal complaint outlines quite significantly the evidence that we have gathered and has come to our attention over the last 2 to 3 years. And it now lays it out and says that the Vice Chancellor is not just someone behind the scenes. He is very actively involved on the face of what we see this evidence says. So we are talking about effectively HR corruption.
Well, this is a man who styled himself as an anti-corruption fighter.
Yeah, he did, and it could well be that he came in originally with very good intentions. The problem is that you can't position yourself as a corruption buster and then in the process of doing that, create more corruption. And that's exactly what he has done. There may be, for example, legitimate things that he did get right. But on the face of the evidence that we've presented to law enforcement, we think it is he's done more harm than good.
So you say you presented evidence with the complaint. What nature of evidence?
So it's documented proof of emails and agreements that he had with people that he had appointed. Many of those who are currently facing fraud and corruption charges themselves in the Fort Hare matter. Those are people that he brought in without proper process. We're talking about significant pay hikes and back pay for people that just off a whim he signs it away. In an institution like Fort Hare, for someone's postgrade to be regraded, there must be a proper process that goes with that. And for someone to get a salary increase, there needs to be a proper process. From the moment in a particular case where a request was made for a salary increase, he approved it within a matter of 3 days. No, it just with a back pay of R500,000. We're talking about massive amounts of money, and the other evidence that is there, we have screenshots of WhatsApp messages that he had with various people that he said, do this, get rid of these people, bring in these people. It really was, by all intents and purposes, a mafia run kind of organization under his term. And the reality is, our whole thing is saying is that, and this is what the evidence is pointing to, is that the decision or the accountability needs to happen at the office of decision. Where is the decision made? The final decision is made with the Vice Chancellor. Yes, he's not the only one, but he is, in our view, the main one. From what we've seen of the evidence, is that he is the main one who needs to give an account for what is going on.
He's currently on precautionary suspension. Please remind our viewers what that suspension is all about.
So a precautionary suspension is when there are allegations against an employee. In this case, it would be the Vice Chancellor as an employee. And they have placed someone on, or that employee on precautionary suspension so that there can be an investigation and they cannot interfere with that investigation. Once that investigation then concludes, they will then formally lay charges, and then there would be a disciplinary hearing. So it's not a suspension as a result of doing something wrong. It's precautionary, and I believe that internally, in terms of the disciplinary matter, that they have filed charges. I haven't seen the charge sheet, um, but that process, I believe, is underway. And we do want it to. Our plea to the council is that they let that process run, and it must be expeditious. It must be done properly and fairly. As much as we believe that he is criminally negligent, he is like any other citizen and any other employee. He deserves a fair process, fair opportunity, and that's what must happen.
What overlap is there between the allegations being investigated now and the complaint laid by you?
Well, that's a very good question. So the current disciplinary matter involves the fact that there were appointments made to particular executives that we're aware of, where he signed off on their appointments without following due process, with getting the approval of council. It is often said that this is an overreach by council, or that it is. It's not for me to say whether it is or isn't, but where is the overlap, or where is the connection between the criminal complaint we've laid against him and this? Is that what the criminal complaint outlines over a period of 2 to 3 years, if not longer, possibly even from in fact much more than that. It's from 2018, 19 already, where these irregular appointments and appointments without following due process has been one of the cornerstones, dare I say, of his term as Vice Chancellor. You know, the infamous Isaac Plaatjes was brought in on a short-term contract, and then just parachuted directly into the VC's office as this director of investigations and vetting, and he was never vetted. But I mean, he didn't appoint himself. It was the Vice Chancellor who appointed him. And even before that appointment happened, we still said to him, we wrote a letter to the VC saying that this is an unusual process. Don't continue with this. And yet he still, after that, a year after that, then appointed Plaatjes as the director of investigation and vetting. That's just, you just can't behave like that in a democratic institution, in a South African higher education institution, and an institution that relies on taxpayers' money to operate. It's not your business, and he's often operated like it's his own private company.
Healthcare matters, but what matters most?
Having cover for the people who keep this business going.
Bonitas is there for you when it counts. Bonitas, medical aid for South Africa. Visit bonitas.co.za and find your plan.
Grant, remind our viewers how long he has been at the university. He clung to his position for dear life, didn't he?
Yeah, so let me speak into that quickly. So he started there in 2017. And in that process, as Vice Chancellor, he would then have a 1-year term. So a 1 5-year term. Every Vice Chancellor has 2 terms they can serve on a 5-year fixed term contract. He had his first term, and then that expired, and then they extended it for 2 terms, for a second term. The issue, however, came in is that the university's retirement age is 65. Now, every employee of the institution has to retire at the age of 65. The Vice Chancellor, however, for some reason, that council back then, not the current council, last year that extended his contract, thought that he's above the institution's own rules, and so they can let him continue beyond the retirement age. So he should have, in fact, retired at the end of September last year when he reached the age of 65, September 2025. However, they extended the contract beyond his retirement age. And we've been saying that is just simply untenable. Then there needs to be fairness. I spoke earlier in this very interview that he must be treated fairly in his disciplinary process. That's something that the union insists on all the time. It's fairness. So fairness is a principle that applies to him in terms of a disciplinary process. And if it's fair for other staff to leave at 65, uh, it must be fair for him to have to leave at that same retirement age. And that, so we're looking at that period, and he really should have left now already. But as it turns out, he will now likely. We'll see what the disciplinary says. But in any event, his contract will expire sometime in the course of next year.
But for the record, he has always protested his innocence and claimed that he is being targeted by people he's pursuing for corruption. Is that correct?
That is what that is his narrative that he puts out is that he's being targeted by people who are have nefarious reasons. We don't. We're not on a witch hunt. In fact, we're on the very opposite. When you present evidence that is like this, it's not a witch hunt. We're saying to law enforcement, hey, we think there is a case here. You go and investigate it. We're not, a trade union is not equipped. It's not our job to investigate these things. But it is our job to see, and it's our job as citizens to say where things have gone wrong. We have to report these things. We have to speak out about these things. And that's what has been happening here. So yeah, he's been saying essentially, I guess, that it's a witch hunt and that we're after him because of whatever reason. It's just simply not true.
Now, Grant, he's had the backing of some very, very powerful people, and he seemed very untouchable for a long time.
Yeah, that's the discourse, I guess, in South African politics. Certainly, is a discourse that exists within, powerful people find a way to stay in power, and often by fear and intimidation of people who speak out. And it does seem like he may well be politically connected. It may well be that he's connected somehow to people within the law enforcement and justice system, but we still trust. In fact, let me say this, is that even though all the stuff is coming out in what is the Madlanga Commission, let's keep in mind that by and large, the vast majority of people in law enforcement are in fact good people. They're people that are wanting to do the right thing. And I even just suddenly thinking, you've done a show with the two lawyers who were then thrown under the bus in this whole thing as well. And they're just good people having done a good job and fell out of favor with this Vice Chancellor. And that's what he does. For some reason, he's just like, no, hold on a minute. I don't like you anymore. And that's the end of you. And so yeah, he seems to be able to pull those kind of strings. Is a interesting character, that's for sure.
Now, we're looking at almost a decade of destruction at this historic institution. Grant, how can it be turned around? Who can turn it around?
Great question. One I've often spent a lot of time thinking about because we've been so invested in this. As you say, it's been ironically, they talk about the decade of renewal that was supposed to happen under the VC. And you're correct in the use of the term saying the decade of destruction. That's more what it was like. In fact, I think we said that in our media statement. And so the decade of renewal must really start now. What needs to happen is that council needs to find a fit and proper person to fill that position, a fit and proper person to be Vice Chancellor, who will get the academic project back on track, will put students and staff first. Your people are your first priority. And we must make sure even more so than the person themselves. But the process must be properly done. Let's not run this thing like he used to, with just however he wants to. You just sign off for people. Let's have a proper recruitment, selection, vetting process. Those processes are not there to frustrate things. They are there to prevent the kind of corruption and criminality that we've seen. So what needs to happen for Fort Hare is council should start looking at putting an advert together. What are the requirements that would be necessary? And obviously, you're looking for someone with a PhD. You're looking for someone who's got strong administrative skills, someone who can listen to advice, someone who understands governance structures well. This Vice Chancellor clearly didn't understand his role with regards to council. Council is the highest decision-making structure of a university, not the Vice Chancellor. And we need to ensure that accountability mechanism is restored between the office of the Vice Chancellor and council. And you know what else I would say, and maybe I'll take some slack for this, but let's look for someone who is young, who's energetic, who's not afraid to do the right thing, who's not going to try and play for the media. Unfortunately, this Vice Chancellor tried to run the institution via the media. I mean, I don't think there's any other VC who's been in the media more than he has in any of their terms. So it's someone who's going to put the institution first. It's going to put higher education first. It's going to put education of tomorrow's leaders first, and the social justice and upliftment of the area within which Fort Hare finds itself is critical.
And preferably somebody who's not politically connected or politically beheld to somebody.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You don't want someone who's politically connected. You don't want someone who's going to be taking instructions from somewhere else. It's someone who genuinely has the best interest of the institution at heart, and that's important. It's also to say in South Africa, it's difficult to find people who don't have political persuasions. But that doesn't mean that such people are automatically not fit for the job. You can have political persuasions, but your moral integrity and ethics is critical. And I would say that's even more important as something to test in a recruitment selection interview process than qualifications. What is your moral back?
And also, from your point of view, somebody who would not victimize whistleblowers and workers and union members.
Yes, absolutely. Someone who doesn't think that dissenting voices are people that just must be silenced. Someone who values the involvement of stakeholders. Someone who will listen to SRCs and to unions and to every stakeholder, alumni association and the IF and universities are there's tons of stakeholders that are involved. And that's exactly how they're supposed to run. That's what prevents corruption, is involvement of every stakeholder.
Thank you. That was Grant Abbott of the National Tertiary Education Union speaking to Biz News about Fort Hare's very, very difficult decade. Thank you, Grant, and I'm Chris Steyn.
Thank you.
Start your day a step ahead. Biz News Insider. It delivers the business stories that matter every morning straight to your inbox, sharp, fast, and free. Subscribe now. In uncertain times, good information is priceless. The Biz News Conference is heading back to the Drakensberg. Join me, Alec Hogg, from the 11th to the 14th of August for BNC 9, Champagne Sports Resort, where it all began and where our community gathers for honest conversations, smart investing insights, and direct access to some of South Africa's sharpest minds. Come and rub shoulders with the best we've got. 28 keynote speakers, 3 days. Seats are available now. Book your seat by clicking the link in the description.